You must endure the ordeal of profound practice. Taken from Recognition of Me is Liberation by Samraj. Devotee, beloved Lord, my question is about the practice of turning the four faculties to you in circumstances that seem to demand the use of conceptual mind. Much of my service to you involves the use of the conceptual mind, writing, speaking, and working on a computer. Adida, yes, the conceptual mind. What about it? I know about the conceptual mind. How could you possibly turn your attention to me when you have to use your conceptual mind? Is that your question? Devotee, I do turn to you, but it seems very difficult to do it with any depth. Adida, for instance, I am having to apparently use the conceptual mind to speak to you right now, yet that does not disturb my samadhi in the slightest. Devotee, yes, beloved Master, it is obvious that when you use conceptual mind, it does not interfere with your samadhi. It is clear that you are always in samadhi. Adida, for the same reason, you can turn the faculties to me in every moment, regardless of the circumstances. Not only in the communion hall, when you have nothing else to do, but at any other time. To turn the faculties to me does not mean that you cannot function. The practice of turning to me has a different quality in those moments when you are functioning, as compared to those moments when you have no requirement to be functioning. But exactly how this works is something you must find out by practice. It is perfectly possible to be speaking and still remembering me. It is perfectly possible to be thinking and still remembering me. It may not be your tendency to do so. That is why you have to do the practice I have given you, so that you can be turned to me at all times, under all circumstances, moment to moment. The summary of the faculties, all turned to me, in a state of equanimity, full devotional communion with me, and yet fully able either to be silent or to be functional in any sense whatsoever, I assure you, this can be done. When you are obliged to think, to use the conceptual mind for some functional purpose, you feel that as an obstacle. Therefore, this is the obstacle that you are going to have to deal with and turn to me at all such times. Are you understanding me? Devotee, yes, I am, Lord. Perhaps there is a search for the same kind of experience that I have in the communion hall when I am feeling you most deeply to occur during times when I am functioning, and perhaps that is an error that I am making. Adida, perhaps so, perhaps not, but in any case, people use their faculties, or allow their faculties to use them, in all kinds of patterns of functioning, in all kinds of relations and circumstances, all the time. The faculties are virtually always active in the waking state and always functioning as extensions of the self-contraction. Right practice is not merely about suppressing the activities of the faculties in terms of being able to function. Rather, right practice is about whole bodily turning to me, regardless of the circumstances. Thus, it is always the same practice, whether you have something to do or not. Learning how to practice whole bodily devotional turning, moment to moment, is what the beginnings of the reality wave Adidam are about. The beginnings of the reality wave Adidam are not about transcendental spiritual life. They are about establishing the devotional foundation for transcendental spiritual life. And this very point that you are suggesting through your question is basic to coming to the point of maturity in foundation or second congregation practice. Thank you, beloved Lord. It just seems that when I am using the body rather than the conceptual mind, there is much less obstruction to feeling you fully, and that was the reason for my question. Adida. Well, that is very interesting, don't you think? Why should there be some difference between one faculty and the next, in terms of which ones are diverting you from turning to me and which ones are not? I bet you could find some others in the room, if you asked around, who would tell you that they find being physically active to be something very distracting and tending to divert them from the practice of devotional turning to me. For you, at least in your estimation, physical activity does not seem to be as much of a diversion, and certainly not comparable to what thinking is for you. I address such matters in my teaching word about vital, peculiar, and solid characteristics. In any case, there is nothing about a rightly functioning mind that is more obstructive than any of the other faculties. There is nothing about a rightly functioning mind or mental activity engaged as a necessity for one reason or another that, in and of itself, prevents devotional turning to me. But you are likely going to have to go through some kind of further process relative to conceptual mind, because for now it is an apparent obstacle for you. That is why you must do the practice I have given. You cannot avoid this necessity. I have to emphasize this to you. It is going to be necessary to do ego-transcending practice in order to realize me. There is no explanation or magical technique that will eliminate the necessity to endure the ordeal of profound practice. Profound practice puts you in touch with the absurdities of your own bondage, and that can at times depress you, confuse you, make you feel that your practice is failing altogether, and that it is fruitless. And in fact, that may be completely true. You may come to a point years from now when you realize that everything you are doing now and everything you will do between now and then was completely fruitless and completely off. And you would still have to deal with it. You would have to refresh your practice, learn the lesson, and get on with the right practice. Even if you did not find this out about yourself for another 10 or 20 years. On the other hand, you could find this out about yourself right now and save yourself a good 10 or 20 years. Simply by devotionally recognizing me and devotionally responding to me, be turned to me at all times, including the times when you are working at your computer. This is your vow. Do whatever you have to do in order to be turned to me. First of all, it has to be important to you to do it, and secondarily, you are going to have to suffer the ordeal of turning faculties of the ego-possessed body-mind to me with utterly self-surrendered devotion. People think there is something about life that prevents them from practicing radical devotion to me, but there is in fact nothing about life preventing you from practicing this devotion to me. Such as beholding in me is a characteristic of those who, without struggling, are able, moment to moment, to be turned in all their faculties to me. It is a moment-to-moment practice. You say that you practice this turning to me in the communion hall when you have nothing else to do, but when you have something of a practical nature to do, then suddenly you feel that takes precedence over the obligation to turn to me. When you are in the communion hall, you know that you are supposed to be turning to me in every moment, but you still keep on thinking and being diverted in your emotions, sitting there really roasting on a reactive emotion. just rotating yourself around on it like barbecuing a chicken or otherwise, thinking about some problem, or perhaps dwelling on some sexual sensation or whatever. You know very well when you are in the communion hall that you are supposed to be turned to me, but you do all those things anyway, even then, when you have nothing else to do. You are just sitting there. All you have to do is be completely turned to me, and yet you do all these things. All of these are just the qualities of immature practice. Do you not imagine that you can practice searchless beholding of me just by means of some token behavioural changes and a little formalistic devotion, and that is all that transcendental spiritual life requires? You have all read a lot of books and listened to a lot of snake oil salesmen who have been selling esotericism to Westerners for a very long time now, along with everything else that everybody gets sold. And they sell it everywhere else as well, east and west. The world is full of salesmen, and as a result, you are habituated to thinking you can just put together or buy some technique or other, or get some kind of a little 5-minute electrical zapping of some kind, and then take it home with you. And it is going to buzz you into the seventh heaven, and also make it unnecessary for you to go through the ordeal of having to actually suffer through your own limitations and discipline yourself to the point of overcoming them. But you cannot avoid that ordeal. You must discipline yourself. Transcendental spiritual life in my divine avatar company is built upon renunciation. Altogether, it is built upon devotion, discipline or renunciation, and realization, or radical devotion to me, right life obedience to me, and perfect knowledge of me. Radical devotion to me, right life obedience to me, and perfect knowledge of me are the necessary circumstances of grace. Grace is not merely some freebie whereby you can avoid all of the struggling, the discipline, the pain, the loss of face, the I am a foolish asshole, self-understanding that you must acquire by paying with every shred of your ego life in order to enjoy realization. You think you can escape the necessity of all of that. To transition beyond the humble state of a beginner requires that you go through the ordeal of entering into the practice of whole-bodily devotional turning to me, until you are established in that turning to me, constantly, moment to moment, with great equanimity. There is no freebie. There is a process, a profound process required. Profound devotion is required. Really holding to my feet is required. Doing so in spite of all the inclinations to the contrary, all the bullshit you tell yourself, all the bullshit everybody else tells you, all the bullshit of the world, all the possible diversions, distractions, fearful happenings, and all the rest of it. Regardless of all of that, you turn to me. If you are serious, this is what you do. And what does turning to me do? It purifies the mind. The power of my person and presence and regard and blessing and grace will deal with the mind, without you working on yourself. When you participate in the devotional sighting of me, you are further purified in your mind, without even knowing why it is happening. Then you will find the sudden capability, the deepening capability to turn to me. You must be purified of your mind, your bondage to yourself, your self-contraction, your attachment to your own separateness, and all of your illusions and errors. The more you turn to me, the more free you will become of every sense of obstacle. But you must participate in this practice seriously and consistently, and for however long it takes to get to that point where it is a fundamentally moment-to-moment practice, so that you are effortlessly and therefore searchlessly beholding me. Searchlessly beholding me is the primary evidence of mature student-beginner practice. To be formally culturally acknowledged as a mature student-beginner is not merely a matter of having a history of fulfilling the functional, practical, relational and cultural disciplines for whatever period of time. Those disciplines are indeed part of what is required. They are all necessary. They are all part of what grants equanimity to the body-mind complex. But the fundamental practice is whole bodily devotional turning to me, sighting me, receiving my blessing on sight, until you are steady with every faculty in devotional turning to me. You must do the practice of Adidam. There is nothing wrong with you or with the practice itself, simply because you have various limitations in your actual practicing of whole bodily devotional turning to me. All beginners suffer these limitations. Devotion to the Adat Realizer is the great prescription. It is time-honoured. This is the instruction that has been given for thousands of years. Come to the feet of your spiritual master and obey your spiritual master's every instruction and command. Take even so much as the raising of your spiritual master's eyebrow to be the law of your life, and to never relate to your spiritual master as an ordinary person. Never abuse your spiritual master. Never forget to cultivate the devotional relationship to your spiritual master. Never forget to gift your spiritual master every moment of your life. When this is your disposition, your practice of living, then it will affect everything about your life, including your time at the computer. Da.